All right, let's go over aluminum frame or aluminum trim that snaps on. So, like these aluminum frame doors here, uh, sometimes called Rayco frames. Granted, that's just a brand, kind of like Kleenex, etc. You know. But anyways, these trims they snap on. So you put your screws into the frame, and then the trim snaps on. And this is a larger one because this is just a trim, separate trim, not for one of the doors. But what you can see is it's got a little lip right there. Come on, focus in the right spot. Right there and right there. Just barely. You can see that. And that snaps onto a little lip channel right here, which this would be built into these frames here. So that way it covers your screws. So essentially these are knockdown frames. They just look nicer than your typical steel knockdown frames, right? Okay, so if you're doing something like this where you're trying to butt it up flush with something and you're trying to figure out exactly where to align it, like say there's an adjacent wall here and you're trying to butt it up, or in this case I'm aligning, I had a center mark and then I'm aligning these two trims on the center. That how you go about that, cut yourself a little piece that you can use. Same goes for those. Usually you have to they're a little long and you undercut them to the correct length to reach the floor. But let's see if I can let me put this down here and protect this real quick so I can do this here without making a mess on the nice furniture here behind me. Okay, so what you would do is, I've already gotten this one started, but you would take your piece here, right, and actually snap it, or obviously it didn't snap with the first piece, but put your trim there and pull this piece tight, both top and bottom if you can. Otherwise you might have to go up and then come back down and readjust. But see, just clip on. What you want to do for your second piece, because these are extra wide, so there's two of these instead of a single one. I think it's kind of dumb. I think they could have just given me a single piece there, but get that in there. Okay. There we go. Like so. Go. Ta-da, there's that. Then, if you got two, it's better than one, because then you can kind of use that as just a straight spacer, okay? And, whoops. Try to keep your screws parallel, because that'll keep your points tight. Come on. You can see sometimes it doesn't hold that. It's not easy to get it tight enough, but you need just a tiny bit of space there in order to snap your cap onto it, because obviously it has to flex, but there we go, that one's holding good there. Once you got about a good section there, you can go back and fill these other two in. I saw that move over. I'm gonna put an extra one in there just to be. Are they one of those? Really not a huge fan of Hilti with their screws right now. Got a bunch of random or different screws in it. And then you can do this, just kind of pull the slack out of there, just to be able to slide it up. Okay. And then got my handy dandy OSHA approved bench. And then keep this on here, all the way to the top. Okay. And one more. Now, depending on the durability of your trim and the finishes and whatnot, you can use a rubber mallet directly, or if you got gorilla hands, you can use your fists, or I shouldn't say fists, but you can strike it like so. That usually works, especially on the smaller stuff. But sometimes, depending on how tight the trim is and your finish, you might not want to use a rubber mallet directly. So I do have this. It has been working fine because it's only one snap here and not two on each side. So this has been working fine. But what you can do, get a decent 2x4, wrap it in a couple layers, preferably, of painter's tape to protect against marring, and now you have a nice solid block to hit this trim down on. Because if you hit it with just the mallet in the wrong place, or say you don't get a nice square hit, but say you accidentally hit it kind of like this, you'll put a stress dent in there and it'll show through the finish. And I'll show you a perfect example of what that looks like when that happens, when it gets just a little tiny bend. Luckily this is in a very insignificant place, but you can see that discoloration right there. This was put on at an earlier date, so this was not me today, but you can see that little discoloration. That would appear in here, and your piece is essentially ruined because they will fight that on the punch list. So now back to this here. If you're really careful with the mallet, and again, depending on your piece, you could also put painter's tape on your mallet or you can use your jeans here and kind of make sure your surface is fairly clean so you don't get smudges on it either. But there we go, nice and tight. And kind of work your way in one direction. Some spots might be tighter than others because we're not perfect. Now, I know that these are a little short, just a tiny bit, so what I'm gonna do is stick this under here, keep it from moving down any further while I finish snapping it on. And we got a couple more here. Pretty tight right there. Keep it from bouncing around. You can see dust from me, but dust wipes off. Alright. There we go. That's dust, by the way. There we go. Aluminum trim cap is on. So, there we go. And we got one more to do, which I got started yesterday with my center mark there and the laser. Got that first one, so we'll just repeat that process 3 times for those 2 trims.